All right. So tonight we're going to delve a little bit more into the science about how tapping works, why tapping works, and honestly, why is it a really important, it's called a CAM, a complementary alternative medicine, a complementary tool if you're dealing with an illness or some mental health challenges, that kind of thing. Like, it's important in that realm too, not just in the I have a goal, I'm having a hard time achieving my goal. And using tapping to basically biohack, for lack of a better term, biohack your way to removing the barriers to achieving your goal. So I know there's some people that jumped on tonight that did not attend EFT 1.0. So I am going to do a little bit of backtracking and just do a quick, what is EFT, and how, and then we'll get into how it works. So EFT is known as the emotional freedom technique. There are lots of different techniques, okay? The one that, and I'm going to stick with this one tonight simply because, number one, you don't need a practitioner to apply this to your life. Two, it is super simple and incredibly forgiving, but it is a powerful technique that combines the principles of modern psychology and ancient Chinese acupressure, not acupuncture, but acupressure. Many people are very familiar with acupuncture. The acupuncturist will put needles in very specific points along the meridian system. There's loads of science to back up its efficacy or its ability to actually work. And so it's combining like Western medicine psychology and working within the meridian system using pressure instead of needles. During a tapping session, you focus on whatever may be causing you stress or discomfort. At the same time, you're gently tapping with your fingers on a specific set of body points. At the end, y'all, and I have expanded this Google folder, I will give you links to all of the things with an image that has the different points. But as you're tapping these points, what you're doing is you're sending calming signals to the brain, letting the brain know that as it's focusing on the negative thing, the thing that's causing stress in your body, as your mind is focusing on that, you're sending calming signals to the brain that tell the brain, hey, this thing that you're focused on, that you're really, experiencing anxiety about, it's okay to relax about it. And it helps turn down the brain's stress response so that you can let go of your stress and find more balance and calm and ease you forward, okay? This is not a one and done. The whole ease you forward thing, it's not a one and done. It takes time. Sometimes it takes repetitive sessions. And the other thing that I've experienced this week is as you work through different things, it uncovers various layers. Now, there is no negative side effects to tapping, and there's really no wrong way to tap except to not tap. So let's get a little bit more into the science about it. And this is the word psychoneuroimmunology that covers the study of the mind-body connection, okay? And these 7 items are probably not an exhaustive list. However, these 7 things are areas that mental stress can cause physical changes in, okay? So y'all, most people are very familiar with the placebo effect, right? Like somebody being given a sugar pill and having the benefits of thinking that they're actually being given a medicine, right? So that's the placebo effect. The nocebo effect is kind of actually the opposite of that. And that is if someone is, let's just say in a medical study, and they've been told, hey, you can have this broad range of negative side effects from this drug if you're given it. And then if they're given the sugar pill, suddenly they start manifesting all these negative side effects, even though they're not being given the medication. Okay, so the placebo versus nocebo, they're basically two sides of the same coin. Somebody is experiencing either something positive or something negative when really there's no agent of change being given to them. Okay, your mental health or your thoughts can affect neurotransmitters. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, what's an example of this? So have you ever been like startled and like really like your body got hot and cold and your heart started racing and your bladder kind of went and like, you know, you've heard of having the pee scared out of you? Okay. Intense sudden fear creates hormone changes instantly, neurotransmitter changes instantly, instant changes in muscle tone. Okay, like that whole like your physical response, that getting back away, trying to back away from, just from a thought. And think about how fast that happens. Okay, and we're going to come back to that because that's like a lot of stress on the body, a lot of stress on the muscles, a lot of stress on the hormones. And but that's also a very vivid example of that. Okay, so constant stress or constant fear of failure, fear of success, fear of screwing up your kids, fear of losing your job, you know, like that can cause the same effects in your body, just not in such a vivid, like overwhelmingly obvious in the moment experience, right? Stress can also create chronic inflammation in the body. So this psychoneuroimmunology, your thoughts can have an impact on the inflammation process in your body. And interestingly enough, in the work I do here in my clinic, where I work within the whole meridian system and the energetic system of the body, when I see clients who have a chronic illness, fibromyalgia, MS, lupus, those types of things, I can't think of a single instance that my client can't link the onset of symptoms back to a emotional trauma. And it set up the body, that emotional trauma, whatever it was, set up in the body a pattern of inflammation. And inflammation and its effects on the body are devastating. Okay, there is a place for inflammation. Like when you twist your ankle, yep, you want that ankle to get inflamed so that it stabilizes that ankle while it heals. But you don't want chronic inflammation set up in your body. Okay, epigenetics is a really cool whole conversation in and of itself. It's turning on of genes or turning off of genes, both good genes that, yes, you want those genes to express themselves, or I'm going to turn off that gene so it doesn't express itself, or the turning on of genes that create disease or more imbalance in the body. And there is loads of evidence that our thought patterns have the power to cause genes to express themselves or not express themselves. Okay. And then, of course, we've kind of talked a lot about it already, but chronic conditions. For simplicity's sake, our mind has the power to think ourselves sick or to think ourselves well. Okay. Now, that is not to say if someone has a chronic condition that it's all in their head, or that just by thinking positive thoughts that it's going to think themselves well. Okay, that is not what I'm saying. I was going to talk a little bit about biohacking tonight, but it kind of felt like it would be a little bit much. But there is a broad spectrum of things that you need to address to have holistic health, like to be whole body healthy. Okay. But your mind plays a huge part in that. And it's the part that our culture, generally speaking, doesn't spend a whole lot of time training us how to think healthy thoughts, teaching us how to overcome negative patterns of thinking, that kind of thing. So that is my TED Talk about the mind-body connection. And that is by no means an exhaustive conversation about that. So what I wanted to dive in more tonight about is, where do you start? And I'm on book 2, by the way. I'm reading this book now, Tapping Solution for Weight Loss and Body Confidence. And it's really interesting. Both books talk about where do you start. And both of them start you with anxiety and overwhelm about starting something new. I don't know about you, but I am not bored in my life, right? Like, I don't need something else to do. I don't need another should, right? I often joke about I shouldn't should on myself. Okay. So I would imagine that most people on this call tonight or watching the replay, you're not bored. You don't need something more to do, but this is a really important tool for you to put into play in your life. Okay. So there is a tapping script about anxiety and overwhelm about trying something new. And I have it in the Google folder. Okay. Then there's some of us may struggle with, well, I've tried so many different things, right? So once you get past the anxiety and overwhelm about starting something new, well, how do I know this is going to work? You know, I've tried keto. I've tried intermittent fasting. I've tried South Beach diet. I've tried going to the gym. Nothing ever works for weight loss. Nothing ever works for anxiety. Nothing ever works for, you name whatever your stressor is. There's a script about nothing ever works for me, because the nocebo effect and the placebo effect apply to tapping. Okay. If nothing ever works for you and you try tapping, guess what? If that is your subconscious programming, that isn't going to work. Okay. So tap stress around nothing ever works. The third tapping script that is really important, and I want you to start with anxiety and overwhelm tapping until you get that sucker down to a 0. Okay. And when you feel empowered to move forward with tapping, I want you to tap nothing ever works. And then I really, really, really beg you, tap overcoming resistance to change. All of us across the board have subconscious programming to be resistant to change. Okay. And all of those scripts are uploaded into the Google folder. So you don't even have to come up with, what do I say? Okay. It's done for you. It's absolutely done for you. And while we're talking about the subconscious and that we are programmed to be resistant to change, I want to spend a little bit of time here because as I was working my way through some tapping scripts with the Body Confidence book, I realized that it's really important to give yourself permission to change the script. Okay. As I was working my way through enjoying healthy food choices and the whole emotional side of eating, like I've been doing some things with some essential oils that I use that have actually kind of changed my taste buds. But it's really wild because while my taste buds don't enjoy certain tastes anymore, or like I've been like super low sugar because sugar just doesn't even feel good in my body anymore, my mind still wants it. And as I was tapping through, like I would really like to enjoy making salads at home. Like I enjoy salads when I go out to eat, but and gosh, something else just popped up. Okay. My mom used to say the road to hell is paved with rotten lettuce, because she would buy lettuce, and my dad had a huge aversion to salads, and he would like say really derogatory things about people that ate salads. So growing up, I am just overwhelmed and inundated with all of these negative messages around salads. And as I was tapping, a very plain script about enjoying healthy foods, and it was in the book, and obviously they don't know anything about my family background. This stuff like starts popping into my head. Y'all, I have no conscious thought when I sit down to eat a salad, oh yeah, dad used to be super derogatory about salads. I haven't had a thought about that and I don't know how long. As I was tapping, these thoughts start floating to the surface. I'm like, where'd that come from? Like, where'd that thought come from? Y'all, your subconscious remembers everything. Everything you've ever heard, every truth that's been spoken over you, every lie that's been spoken over you, every snide remark from some classmate in the hallway. Your subconscious remembers. Okay. So as you begin to tap, and as these thoughts come to the surface, and they will, okay, they will come to the surface, feel free to turn the script and begin to tap away those lies. Okay. And you may say, well, Joy, well, what do I say? It doesn't matter. Okay. In a minute, we'll talk again about the movie technique. As these thoughts were coming to the surface, and it was almost like I was in my childhood home. I was sitting at the dinner table. My dad was at the head of the table, and y'all, I could almost hear his voice. So I tapped that experience and I just started giving details of what happened. That as the memory kind of started coming, I just tapped away on that memory. Okay. So there at the bottom of this slide, it says digging into your subconscious beliefs. As you start tapping, different instances or realization of, wow, I have a negative belief, a subconscious belief about that. Okay. Kind of a vivid, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but we're going to roll with it. Kind of a vivid example of subconscious beliefs kind of determining the path of our life. Do you have a friend, a single friend, who is constantly drawn to toxic men? She doesn't want to be drawn to toxic men. She doesn't want toxic relationships. Why is she drawn to toxic men? It's subconscious belief. It's subconscious programming that create choices that lead her in the direction of toxic relationships, right? Is someone who's wanting to let go of some pounds, has a hard day at work, comes home and is like, I'm just going to eat a whole bag of Doritos. I've been there. Why? I want to lose weight. Why do I come home and find comfort in my enemy? Right? It's subconscious beliefs. It's subconscious programming. And through tapping, you can reprogram subconscious beliefs. Now, I've had some people share with me some different experiences when they've tapped in the last couple of weeks. One person was coaching their child through tapping, and like as soon as the kids started tapping up here, like they karate chop point tapped, and then they got up here, the kid actually experienced some pain, like in their head. Okay. That links back to the psychoneuroimmunology. You are when you tap, you are literally reprogramming the gray matter that's in your brain. Okay? You are literally creating new pathways in your brain. And as those tissues change, don't be surprised if it feels a little funny. Okay? Oftentimes when I get done tapping, in fact, I did a big tapping session on my couch here in the office the other day. Y'all, it knocked me out and I took a nap. Like literally, as soon as I got done, it's almost like I was instantly asleep. Why do babies sleep so much? Because their brains are learning so much and they're having to categorize and store and create pathways in their mind. I kind of put myself into a newborn sleep with the work I was doing. Okay. So don't be surprised if, especially if you're tapping around something really big and intense, if it's a little bit exhausting. I would expect it to be that way. Okay. If you struggle with figuring out what is the subconscious belief that I need to address, in the Google file, there is something called the tapping tree. And basically you write down what your signs and symptoms are, and then look back and say, okay, does that link to a certain event in my life? Is there a triggering memory there? And then you work your way down to the roots, which the roots are your subconscious beliefs. As you're tapping, you may come across more subconscious beliefs that you can add to that tapping tree. And journaling through this process, writing thoughts down that come to mind, is a really powerful complement and to this, and it enables you to know, okay, where do I go next? Right? So, we're all like, oh yeah, I'll remember that. Okay, write it down. Okay, just write it down. All right. So for those of you that weren't on EFT 1.0, here are the 9 points. This exact graphic is in the Google file. Okay, so don't get worried about, oh my gosh, how am I gonna, screenshot that screen grab that real quick. Okay, it is available to you in the file. So these are the 9 points. It's okay if you go out of order. Okay. Sometimes you get to rolling through the tapping stuff and, oh my gosh, I forgot side of the eye. For some reason, this is the one I always forget. I go from here to here. I don't know why. It's okay. Okay. Truly, it is. You're not going to harm yourself. Like, it's okay. I wanted to deep dive a little bit more into this. This is your general setup statement, or this is how you kind of design your scripts. The books have loads of scripts in them. And then what's really cool is there are links in the books that take you to the website that give you an even more extensive script around the topics that are covered in the book. So, but a general framework is you start with the words, even though, and then a statement about what I'm worried about. Even though the idea of becoming organized really creates a lot of stress in my body because I worry about what time am I going to have to actually do the work to be organized. And what if I throw something away that I want later on? That's probably maybe the root of why I struggle to be organized. I deeply and completely accept myself. Then I'm going to say that 3 times. And it's okay if it doesn't sound the same all 3 times, as long as the heart of the message is the same. Okay. And then you're going to tap, and you're going to tap the karate chop point while you're saying the big long setup statement. And the more details, the better. Okay. And there's no wrong way to do this setup statement other than start with even though, and then deeply and completely accept myself, or deeply and completely love myself. Okay. So either of those is fine. Then you're going to tap through the rest of the 8 points with reminder worry words. So what if I throw something away that I need tomorrow? I already feel stressed out about how much I do every day anyway. And you're going to work your way through those points. Okay. Again, there's no wrong worry words. And kind of feel into that stressful trigger and listen to where do you feel it in your body? And I could say something like, it kind of makes my throat feel tight. And it kind of makes me a little bit sick to my stomach when I think about being organized. That's kind of dumb, isn't it? Yes, it is, but it's how I feel. Okay. Give yourself permission to lean into how you feel, because the only way out is to acknowledge the truth about what you're feeling. You know, what we said in EFT 1.0 was these feelings. Why do we focus on the negative? Well, the negative is what's true right now. It's like when my bill comes from the electric company and it's like, ouch, I can't just put it in a drawer and ignore it. It's still due. It's still true. So I have to pull that bill out. I have to acknowledge it. I have to pay it. That's what tapping is. It's pulling those things out, acknowledging them, and then reprogramming your mind to a different response to that trigger, right? Because we don't want to get stuck in stress. Y'all, every time I think about organizing, I have that stress response. Remember we talked about fear earlier and being startled, right? What does that do to your body? On a low level, every time I think about organization, my body experiences that cortisol rush, that kind of fear, nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. There is a neurotransmitter change that happens. There is a hormone change that happens. And if the hormone of cortisol is released, there is an inflammation, oxidation response that happens in my body. And so if we are just overrun with anxiety about different things, we are constantly stuck in that fight or flight, high cortisol, burning through neurotransmitters, inflammation response in our body. And there is a way out. There is hope. Now, is it going to be overnight? No, not an easy pill. Okay. But if we don't utilize this tool, it for sure doesn't work. Okay. So, and do you remember I talked about journaling? So you want to kind of like normal feels normal. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but normal feels normal. You're not going to notice change unless you journal or just kind of objectively bullet journal. I don't know. I'm not a like huge lot. I don't want to write a bunch of words. I just want to get my objective measuring data down so I can know when I've improved. Okay. So as you're working your way through scripts, before you start, how trigger, okay, Joy, how triggering is the idea of being organized and spending time organizing? I'm probably an 8 or a 9. Okay. Like I've told myself my whole life, I am not an organized person. That doesn't have to be true about me. I am plenty smart enough, plenty wise enough, plenty disciplined enough to be organized. There's some subconscious beliefs about keeping more stuff than I need that clutters my home. And so it's not organized. And honestly, they come from my parents. Okay. So I'm going to be working on that. So I'm an 8 or a 9 when I think about my trigger right now. So then when I work my way through a script, what am I now? Does it bring it down to a 6 or a 7? Okay, let's tackle it again. Okay, am I at a 3 or a 4? Nope. Okay, let's tackle it again. Okay. And you really can't overdo this. And I promise you, as you utilize this tool, you'll know when you're done. You'll know when that worry flatlines and it's not a trigger anymore. Okay. You'll know when you're done. And let's say you've tapped it and 6 weeks down the road, oh my gosh, it's a trigger again. Go back and tap it again. That's great. Like it's okay to tap through things multiple times. Okay. We are very dynamic creatures. So it is okay if you need to tap through things multiple times. I want to talk briefly about movie technique because this is an awesome tool for kids. Okay. If you've got kids in your world that they're struggling with stress, they're struggling with anxiety, life's been hard for them. If you're a foster mom, if you have guardianship of kids that have gone through abandonment issues, help them tap through those experiences so that when they're 30, 40, 50 years old, they're not dealing with chronic issues. And oftentimes kids that have been through trauma have behavior challenges. Help them tap through their experience so that they can get on the other side of that. Okay. Now, if you are their legal guardian and they are refusing, like if you are the authority in their life and they are refusing, you can tap your body as a surrogate for them. Now, I would say if you're dealing with a kid who is older than 12 in this kind of world is, in this whole energetic world, is kind of the age of accountability, or the age of they need to do it for themselves because they need to be bought in. Okay. But you can use this for young kids that are just too triggered to do it for themselves. You can do this for infants. If an infant has been through a traumatic birth, tap some of that. Okay. They have emotions and feelings and thoughts just like we do. Okay. You can do this for your animals. Really, this is such a easy to use tool with people that can't do it for themselves. Okay. So the movie technique is just another way to not have to identify specific emotions, but you simply talk through the experience. Okay. And it's just super easy to just talk through what happened. And all right, so the resources available, if you weren't on last time, here is the URL, or if you have a way to screenshot and then use the QR code. And I am constantly adding to the Google file or the Google folder, because as I discover things, then I want to share those things with you. Two other things, and I can't remember if they're in the Google folder yet, that I did want to talk about that have been really helpful to me is one is an app called the I Am app. And I want to say it's every hour I get a notification either on my phone or on my smartwatch with an affirmation that says I am, and I think sometimes you'll see me screenshot them and I put them on my Facebook page. I am okay with my messy self. I am okay with my messy self, but I do want to be more organized. Like, I am okay that I am moving to into a time of more organization. Doesn't mean that I'm upset with where I'm at now. It's just, and I'm okay to move into being more organized. So the I Am app has been something that has been really helpful throughout the day to just receive gentle reminders through the day of positive thoughts. And sometimes I'll stop right there and I'll tap that exact phrase. Okay, so again, tapping is one of those things that you can use on the go. You don't have to sit down and commit 15, 20, 30 minutes to this. Like, you can literally use it on the go. And then the other thing, or another app, and this one's free, that I've been using is the Pause app. And you can set it to send you a reminder to pause however many times during the day that you want. And I have mine set for 9 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So 9 o'clock in the morning, my kids are off to school and I'm getting ready to go to work. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, kids are getting ready to come home. And they're just reminders to stop and breathe and be present. And I don't know, I've been using it for about 6 months. And I actually look forward to the reminder. Because it's like, okay, I take a big deep breath and I just ground myself to the moment. And so those two tools complement this idea of reprogramming your mind and letting go of negative thought patterns. So the I Am app helps to reprogram negative thought patterns, and the Pause app helps to just remind you to pause and be in the moment. Okay. And that's what the pause, when I get that pause notification, that's what that pause means to me. Maybe for you, it's something else. Okay. But two super powerful tools that I've started using. I think I am going to subscribe to the tapping thing. Although I'm going to prove to myself that I'll use it by utilizing the free version first. But I think it might be worth it to work through some of my, I don't know, some of my organization stuff. So anyway,